All right, a very good evening to you. I'm meteorologist Jack Drake, back in the studios. Thank you to JLP for sponsoring this video. JLP is Danbury's hometown roofing contractor. Probably going to see them on a graphic tomorrow for the high winds. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about this storm, and we'll take a sneak peek at the next storm coming in for the end of next week. So it looks like Thursday next week, potentially. Um, Everybody loves to play the app game now, where the apps will give you snow totals like a week out, right? They'll say, oh, it's going to be 16 to 20 inches. And then that'll just change every 6 hours for the next 4 days. But that's always the question I get. Oh, I see they're saying, like they, and who's they? I don't know. The AccuWeather, or the Weather Channel app, is saying that it's going to be 15 inches of snow. Potentially, sure. I kind of doubt it though. But first thing is first. We have weather going on outside right now, and one of the reasons I haven't been focusing too much on the other storm is, I want to get through this one, and I want to make sure we didn't have a bad ice storm, kind of a surprise ice storm, especially in Litchfield County. That's what we were really concerned about, and can't really still rule that out at this point. I think we could see scattered, potentially locally numerous power outages across Litchfield County, across the higher hills of Fairfield County, New Haven County, your towns like your New Fairfield and your Sherman, your Wolcott, Middlebury. Those places could be, technically in New Haven County, in Fairfield County, but they could be kind of lumped in with the Litchfield crowd. So this map is what we're looking at right now. We've had the mix move in. The mix moved in a couple hours ahead of schedule. That can happen. That's just part of these storms when they track the way they do lately. We see that mix we changed to sleet a little bit sooner than the models say. And it makes the snow forecasting really tough because even today, we still got 6 hours of snow, but it only accumulated to like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches at my house. I haven't officially measured yet. I should probably go out and do that. But I was thinking we'd end up closer to 3.5. We ended up at 2, 1.5. In this kind of storm, I don't think it's a huge deal as far as impact, because we're gonna get the rain and we're gonna get the mix on top anyway. We're gonna get so much freezing rain that whether you had 2 inches or 4 inches, it really probably wouldn't matter a whole lot. But what I wanted to say about the snow outside right now, very dense. That's the other thing is we had a lot of inefficient snow growth going on. Where it almost felt like it was sleeting. It wasn't sleeting. It was just bad snow. It wasn't those big fluffy, dendrite flakes. We were seeing columns and rods and everything like that, just similar to the last storm, but it made it really slippery, especially when the sun went down and the road started getting a little bit rough. So it was right about 6 p.m. where we tagged in that Brookfield fire video where the car spun out, and I started getting more and more reports. Hey, car spun out. Somebody took out a pole in Newtown. So things like that. If you're out and about on the roads right now, still getting reports that it is slick. So please, if you're not comfortable driving in the snow, don't go out. It's usually the rule of thumb. But this is what we're looking at here. You'll see that freezing rain has made it into Fairfield County. Sleet for much of Connecticut, really. It's still hanging on to snow in the northeast corner here in eastern Connecticut a little bit, but that's going to go over to the sleet, to the freezing rain shortly. When we look at what to expect through the next few hours, you'll notice that we do get a little bit of plain rain, and I think Bridgeport right now is hovering right at 32, 33 degrees on Long Island Sound. So we should get that a little bit of plain rain along the immediate shoreline. So your Stamford, your South Norwalk, your Bridgeport, Stratford, places like that go to they get to 34 degrees. Roads will probably be totally fine, especially if they've already been treated like the main highways down there, I-95. But you'll notice just north of that, right, Merritt Parkway points north, we're still seeing that ice. And that's what I'm worried about. That's going to continue overnight. We're going to hover at 31, 32 degrees here in Greater Danbury. Points north will probably stay in upper 20s across Litchfield County and into some of the cooler pockets here in central Connecticut. But what I'm really concerned about is not just what's going to happen tonight. It's what's going to happen tomorrow morning. And the reason that I showed this map is because you'll notice as I go through time, you'll see a little red L. Hopefully. Yeah, there it is. A little red L appear just south of Martha's Vineyard. And okay, why is that important? That's going to create this kink in the isobars that we always talk about when we talk about freezing rain. And this kink in the isobars is what's called cold air damming. And basically, it creates this northeasterly wind that's going to reinforce cold air at the surface. So temperatures are modeled right now, and I can show this to you. They're modeled to get up to about 32 by 3 a.m. in Danbury, and then fall to 28, 27 by 9 a.m. And that's because of this shift in the wind. So you're going to go to a northeast wind, and you'll even notice that, or see that mix line start to retreat. And again, we can take a closer look on this. I'll zoom in so you can see it. But that mix line got up to like the Merritt Parkway, and then all of a sudden by 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., now that mix line's all the way into Long Island Sound, even northern Long Island, seeing a little freezing rain. So I do think we'll see, because of this red L right here that's going to go over Martha's Vineyard, this is going to throw back cold air, and we're actually going to drop temperature into tomorrow morning. So it's a little bit, that's like a little bit of a funky thing. We usually don't see that in storms like this. Usually you kind of get a linear ramp. So you'll start at 28, you'll go to 29, 30, and then eventually you'll go above freezing, right? This looks a little bit different, where we're going to get this cooling effect around 4, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, and then that's going to last through mid-morning. So again, if you're going out to church Sunday morning, probably going to encounter some freezing rain. Let me zoom in, and that's the meteorology of why. Now I'll show you the model closer up, so we can kind of get a better view. And I know you're looking through the phone. Wrong city selected. We are in Hartford, not Houston. But let me show you the radar here. And this is just going to be a lot of ice. You're going to see a lot of ice. So this is where we are at right now. Sleet started to mix in, right? We sent out the message, hey, we're seeing, sleet mix in. Your total is your total. You get 2 or 3 inches, whatever. As we go through time, sleet, freezing rain. Look how many hours of freezing rain we get here in Danbury. So this DXR is Danbury. This OXC is your Waterbury, Oxford Airport. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even if you don't see rain here, it's probably drizzle or something like that. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then it really starts to retreat into Litchfield County. Now these Litchfield County towns, we're still going to be glazing up. This is noon tomorrow. So, this is not a short-term deal. We're talking about ice, even in the higher elevations here. Look where it's calling out. So this spot right here, this purple spot, that's your New Fairfield. This looks like Newtown, Southbury Hills. This is Middlebury here, and this is Wolcott. Those are some of the highest elevations along the I-84 corridor. As you get north of that, obviously, you're into those towns up there, Thomaston and Burlington, and as you get closer to the border, I call it the ice box up here, where you have your Colebrook and your Norfolk, and New Hartford, places like that. But main point, we're still seeing that freezing rain last all the way to noon in that area. So again, I'll time it out for you one more time, because I know that was a little bit fast. But freezing rain north of the Merritt Parkway here later tonight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Plain rain south. We get that colder influence, and that freezing rain line is going to crash, and we're going to see freezing rain all the way down to the Sound. So, this is a little bit of a, hey, we treated the roads last night. What happened? I don't know if this is, I'm going with it. I'm going with this as the forecast. If it ends up being a little warmer than that, that's great. But I think, these places down here, this I-95 corridor, we're really going to have to watch that for freezing rain tomorrow morning. This is 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. We're talking about heavy freezing rain rates right through Greater Danbury, Western Connecticut here. And it's just going to glaze things up. Let's look at the temperatures quick. But we're going to be talking 30 and below. So right now, about 30 degrees, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 30 degrees. Now, 5 a.m., it drops to 28. We're still getting the rain. And 26 in Waterbury, but really cold. You get rain at these temperatures, 27 and 25, you're going to make a lot of ice quickly. It's not like when it's raining at 31, 32, and you can kind of see it forming the trees, but it's really not doing a lot on the ground. 25 degrees, 26, 27, and freezing rain is not a joke. That's, you're going to make a lot of ice really quickly. So, that's another kind of factor of why I'm a little bit more concerned than it normally would be. In that, again, we talked about it. If you get that slow ramp where, hey, it's 30, 31, 32, and it's freezing rain, one thing. If it's 27 and freezing rain, it's a whole different animal. So, and then eventually, 30, 31, 32 by noon. Noon, we're still hanging on, Danbury, 32 degrees on this model, 31. And then this is the really weird part. Let me go to a different run here, take you a little farther out. So we do that same dance, and then, your weather app's going to say, oh, the high tomorrow is 45. There's nothing to be worried about. It's going to be 45 degrees. But this is for like 2 hours. We get into the 40s maybe. I mean, you'll notice here, Danbury points north, we're closer to 38, 37. But it's just funny to me how, like, the apps can just throw you off so much. You'll see the high is going to be 43 in Danbury. Oh, yeah, it's going to get plenty warm. I'm not worried about it. It's going to be rain. It's going to rain all day. It'll wash everything away. Well, it's like, no, not really. You just had 12 hours of freezing rain, and the temperature went up from 34 at 2 p.m. to 43, 45 at 5 p.m. That's only 3 hours. And then your temperature is going to crash back to 32 by, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then you're going to get the 20s overnight with a brutal wind, by the way. Let's take a look at that quickly. So, a lot of facets to the storm. So these are wind gusts. Again, I like this model with this situation. It did good with the last wind event we had. So it's going to pick up quick. We're at 20, we're only gusting, 20, 25 miles an hour through the day. And even that probably overdone. But once we get to 5 p.m., it's going to be 5, 6, and 7. That wind is going to pick up out of the west. So northeast wind all day, but look at this. Gust to 46 miles an hour. 46 miles an hour right at 8 p.m. 47, 9 p.m. So we're going to, 48, 40, maybe 50 miles an hour here in pockets towards late evening. So we're going to see wind damage from this. Now, if there's ice on the trees still, and a lot of people are asking that, oh, is it going to blow with the ice in the trees? Well, probably, especially in Litchfield County where it didn't get that warm. Places, a little farther south, the ice might melt off a little bit. But, we're talking about really impressive winds on top of impressive ice. So it's really not a good combination here. And that's why I leaned kind of high with the power outage language. Because I was like, it's a weird, I don't like it. I just don't like it as a forecaster. Too many red flags. You got big ice, quarter inch plus of ice, and then 50 mile an hour wind gusts coming in the same day. I can't really remember a time when I forecast that ever. So that's the red flag, right? But yeah, I'll go to your comments now. Yeah, winds, Michael, winds to 50 miles an hour or more. I believe we're in a high wind watch right now. And it starts right around that time. It starts, I believe, 6 p.m. High wind watch for gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour through the state. And that's not a wind. They might make it a wind advisory, and they might make it a high wind warning. They haven't decided yet. I'm not super happy with the NWS right now. So, yeah, mixed bag in Danbury. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. I did go outside. It was glazing up a little bit. Yeah, Lisa, drive to work should be a good time. Please let me know. Please let me know what you're seeing out there if you go out in the morning. Paul's always worried about power outages. Call him Power Outage Paul. I could see numerous. I use the term numerous. Widespread to me is more of like if you're talking about like a regional grid down situation. I think we could see numerous outages into Litchfield County and those higher elevations that I called out before on the I-84 corridor. Everywhere else should just be kind of scattered. It'll be the ice, might cause some scattered stuff around Greater Danbury or even, the Merritt Parkway points north. And then the wind should cause some additional scattered stuff. Now, together, does that make it more numerous? Potentially. But it's so hard in these situations. It's kind of unprecedented. Like, again, when's the last time we saw quarter inch to maybe a third of an inch of ice, and then 50-mile-an-hour winds the same day. Torrington, let's go. So we're up in the northwest corner. Would you recommend shoveling now? Yeah, this is like I've gotten this question a lot. I don't have a good way to answer this really. It's like, so let's go through the options, right? You shovel it now and get rid of your 2 or 3 inches, and then you leave your driveway bare, and then you get 12 hours of freezing rain on top. It's probably not going to be fun. It's probably going to be a glacier, right? If you leave it and then it's freezing rain all day tomorrow, you have like 2 hours to clean it before the wind picks up, and that's not going to be a fun time either. And then even then, it's probably still a glacier. So it's like, I don't know if you can win in this situation that well. I guess maybe if you got out there like a midday tomorrow and it's raining, it's kind of warming to 30, and you put salt down, it'll be maybe. That still doesn't sound that great to me when I say it out loud. Dave, yep. Yeah, Dave, please charge the devices. By all means, scattered to potentially numerous power outages. Dave is from New Milford. So shout out Litchfield County. Again, if you're up there, that's where I'm more worried about ice storm conditions. And let me show you that. I'll bring that up to play in the back too. That ice map. That ice map is really impressive. Look at that. So these are ice totals that are being called out here again. You see that icing all the way down to the shoreline. I made a post about that, but so 0.4 inches in Danbury. I always say to take about 50% off the model. It's usually how it works out. Now, when you're at 27 degrees, we might not have to take 50% off. It might be more like 30 or 40%. So I'd say about a quarter inch of ice in Danbury, maybe a third of an inch of ice here this is like, the Middlebury area, Oxford Airport. And then see these like darker red areas. I mean, this is your Wolcott's. These are your higher elevations. You can see New Fairfield here, also circled in a dark red. This is like that Patterson area in New York that's really high too. Those areas where we get close to an inch on the model, or 0.75, that's where we could see up to 0.4, 0.5 inches of ice. When we get to 0.5 is like the magic number. And that's where really you start seeing widespread power issues. So the trees start to snap about a half an inch. So yeah, charge the devices. Brookfield to Westport Drive tomorrow, 9 a.m. Yeah, so the Brookfield part is going to be your icy part. As you get down towards Westport, you'll see less ice, but probably not super fun. And is this the windiest winter? I don't know if there's a way to quantify that necessarily. Like, this winter was windier than last winter. I don't think the data necessarily works like that. I could probably look at the number of wind days and make like some sort of assumption, but we have had a lot of wind. Why is all the moisture just falling apart? It's like, yeah, got a little depressed comment there. Yeah, I think there's going to be plenty of moisture here. I think sometimes the modeling doesn't do a good job when it warms up in these cold storms. It just kind of makes it look like a bunch of garbage. But it's not. You'll see drizzle in between heavier rain pockets. Thank you, Robert. Horrible driving home. Nothing plowed. 2 to 3 inches of rain, Jeff. I don't think we'll get that much. Maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches total. But some of it, depending on where you live, is probably going to be freezing rain too. So that won't really run off like regular rain. Hi, Melissa. Roads will be okay by 6 p.m. Yeah, I think afternoon it gets better for most people. So, noon I showed it was really only kind of scattered pockets along I-94, and the rest of it was more, we started to change to plain rain down, I call it the urban corridor between I-84 and I-95. So you should be okay by then. Ice storm 2020. I mean, hey, Robert, I was, I'll be honest with you. And again, this isn't National Weather Service bashing by any means, but I was surprised they did not issue an ice storm warning for Litchfield County. And this is trending colder today, but I was also surprised an issue for the Berkshires up here in Massachusetts. I was looking at the models coming. I'm like, what? Like how much ice do we need to see modeled to get an ice storm warning? Apparently more. So they put a winter weather advisory here for 0.25 inches of ice. I'm like, locally higher amounts. Snowstorm Thursday or miss. Oh, I did say let's do Thursday in a minute here. Farmington, Avon area. Yeah, so you're kind of in the western Hartford County area there. I think you're going to get a lot of ice. It'll be a lot of ice. You'll eventually get the plain rain, but it'll be a lot of ice. Peak gusts, I like 50 miles an hour. I'd probably go 50. As soon as that storm moves past us, we'll get a westerly wind, and the first 3 hours are going to be like, the switch will flip, and you'll be like, well, what is going on? This is really crazy wind. But again, abnormal storm. We're getting a really strong low to track right over our area, so we're going to get that kind of backside wind. It'll wake you up. 1 a.m. Sunday. So we're talking about in 2 hours. Thank you. I was actually going to ask that. So we're talking about 2 hours from now. I think really icy. I hate to say it, Ellen. I think we're going to be icy. Probably freezing rain ongoing in Reading, especially I'm assuming you're going to take 107 down to Wilton. I'd say 107 is probably iced up. Yeah, roads will improve through the day tomorrow. I think afternoon will be okay. And if we get into some of those warmer temperatures, pretty okay. It is a colorful map. All right, so I'll take you quickly through. I think I answered most of those. I'll take another look when I hop off to make sure I didn't miss anybody, obviously. But let's take a look at what's going on next week. So we got. Let me zoom out here. We'll go to the European model, which is also showing a lot of ice, by the way, just in case anyone cared. But let's zoom out here. All right. So this is today's storm. We're going to get into dry weather for a few days, which is a good time. So it'll be cold. When you read these weather maps, the more blue lines between you and the 540 line here, the colder the air mass. So we're quite a few lines deep. That's the cold air mass. That's when you can expect highs in the 20s probably, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So this is Tuesday afternoon. You'll start to see the storm form here. It's a little late for me. The storm form here this is Wednesday afternoon, and then it'll track up close to us by Thursday. So this is the European model. This had originally had a big hit here. But right now, it's a strong low. It's a strong storm. It's in a good spot. But it takes it a little bit south and east. It's almost like there's high pressure up here that blocks it a little bit. It's almost like it gets blocked. It's like, I want to give Connecticut a good storm, and then blocked out to sea. This would still give us measurable snow, though. So I can't say this is not a miss. I think, too many people say that. If they're not getting 24 inches, it's a miss. But this would be probably a 2 to 4 event, just on the model, and things are going to change, right? This is going to trend. I can show you the previous runs here. So this is let me just get to the right run. So this is 18Z, which is like the afternoon run. That was this morning. Actually looks really close, but that was last night or early this morning, like 3 a.m. And that's your big hit when you start seeing the low tucked in here and under Rhode Island. Great spot. So Delaware, Rhode Island, you want to make an L? Whew, that's a great storm. This would actually probably throw a really, really mean snow band back somewhere over New Jersey, New York City, Western Connecticut. This would be a huge hit, right? So this one has potential, and you can actually try to see it starts to do that snow band right there. But yeah, that would be. Let's look at the accumulations quick because we're on together. It's going to be ridiculous. centimeters, really ridiculous. But yeah, about 1 to 2 feet, right? 1 to 2 feet targets Western Connecticut. That's a mean storm. Let's look at what today did. So this is the newest one, a lot less, right? Delaware getting crushed, but a lot less here. Again, kind of a 2 to 4 type deal. Maybe even a 1 to 3. If you want to look at the GFS, we can do that. So it looks like the new ones are rolling out now, but it's not quite up to that hour. So we'll go back a run. So this one's a little closer, actually. And again, I haven't been looking at these super thoroughly because similar idea. We call this a Miller A. So there's no redevelopment of a low. Miller A nor'easter is just a nor'easter that runs straight up the coast. That's what we see here. Looks pretty good. Double barrel low, which is probably going to get resolved. I think models are going to have a hard time. They're going to want to shunt a lot of this energy off east, to where my cursor's in pretend land. But if the low is able to form closer to the coast here and ride up, then we'll be in business. I think they might have a little bit of trouble resolving that right away. So we're gonna have to see. But this isn't a terrible track for snow here. This would obviously, like in this particular run, it would target more Rhode Island, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, but definitely has potential. And the Canadian was the one that was still hitting us. Again, the new one's rolling out now. I should have wait a half an hour. They'll all be out. Yeah, so the Canadian was the one that was a little closer. A little weaker, though, with the low, so it's not quite throwing as much moisture on shore, but still a big hit. Basically, you have one European model showing a graze, GFS model showing a moderate plowable snow, then you have the Canadian model showing a big hit, which would be like a foot plus. So definitely potential. At this range, we're still, Saturday night, so it's like close 4.5, 5 days out. Your model air is going to be 200 or 300 miles. So it's like the difference between the low being like here and down here. So it's not, there's just not a lot I can do besides say, hey, there's a great signal for a storm. I'm watching a storm closely. It has some upside. It could produce us, a foot plus of snow. It might not. It might miss us. And that's really where the truth lies. So yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. See, I ran this 28 minutes, was trying for like 20, so went way over, but that's all good. Really appreciate all the support lately. Almost 25,000 likes or follows on Facebook, which is cool. I don't really look at the likes and follows that much. Like, it's not part of my goals or anything like that, but it's always cool to see the love. So really appreciate it, and have a great night.